It's been a tougher spring already on the farm, folks. The weather really hasn't cooperated for us. So lately I've been in the shop kind of putzing with a new project I got. I am threading some Teflon onto some fittings and stuff because I'm putting a propane burner into my maple sap evaporator. I've done the wood thing with my neighbors before, and I've watched some guys really come up with some ingenious ways of doing it. My good friend does it on his kitchen stove because he's got it small enough that he can do it that way, and that's great. But I only get to burn maybe once a week or once every other week, and I can only do it while the weather is cold enough to keep my sap in good shape. So when I do need to go, I need to get it done. And right now I've got one of my daughters handling almost all the sap production on the farm, which is great. But I'm going to try and put a full box on the Smokey Lake pan, and I'm going to try and put a propane burner underneath it, which does like, I don't know what this thing's rated for, but it's got like 15,000 BTU burners, 5 of them that are supposed to go on it. And I'm trying to make this kind of work and get it all together. So I'm going to put a sight glass on it because I want to automate this a bit so that my pan can stay at a constant depth and I don't have to monitor the crap out of it all the time, because I've seen what happens when you burn sap. I mean, you make sugar candy out of your stainless steel, isn't very good. So I bought that, and I'm adding it to my pan that I have. And then I got these burners. There's 5 of them here. They take 20 psi propane. There's some crazy amount of BTUs on it, which is fantastic, but it's nuts. Hopefully, I can get enough tank pressure to do it and really get this sap done. I think this unit, if I recall right from Smoky Lake, they say with the proper pan, and of course if you were in the proper conditions, altitude and no wind and all that, I think you can do like 10 to 12 gallons an hour. I can already tell you that when I'm making the video here, I don't know that answer, but I do now, that being I'm doing it outside, I'm getting about 9 gallons an hour out of it, which is for me fantastic because I can take 40, 50 gallons and be done in 4 or 5 hours, which used to take me all day. Because again, on the farm, some things aren't into mass production. They're just for us. They're just a sugar source and a staple for us, and that's what the syrup is going to be. Now, the other problem the farm has is we don't have a lot of maples. I think there's like 3 true maple trees on the whole entire farm. So that's always been a bummer. My daughter, though, has been blessed to be able to go over to the Deacon's place down the road from us, and he's got a few maples in there, and she's been blessed by his generosity to be able to tap those. And my mother has a few back on her homestead, so we've been able to get maple syrup from those trees on other people's property, and that's been fantastic. So as I tighten this up and get ready to throw it into use, I put my pan back on top. But what I wanted to show you today is what we do have on the farm, and it is a maple, but it's not what most people are used to. What we have on the farm are box elders. Box elders are a maple tree, I get that. And what we've learned is never to mix the box elder with the maple. Maple syrup has its own distinct flavor, and this thing is going to cook the crap out of our maple syrup, which is great when we do it, but it's also going to do the same and cook the crud out of that box elder. And box elder's a different flavor. I like to think of it like a butterscotch taste. And as we push this up to 7 on the dial, which is 7 degrees above 212, and we get it ready to get done, this box elder has been going for about, I think this has been going about 4.5 hours. We got it up to about 219 degrees just before filtering, and then we're running it into the pan, and we're going to get it filtered up here. And I'm going to run it just a little bit thin because when this stuff thickens up, it tends to be really thick. So I am running it a little bit thin here as I start to draw off at the end. So I'm going to take a little bit of sap and make it so it's just a tad thin. And that actually works out really well on the brick scale. So I bring it up to where it's supposed to be, and then I just add just a little, just to dilute it just a tad, so it's just not so thick. I find the box elder comes in on our place somewhere around that 60 to 70 gallons to make a gallon kind of story, but it makes a really pretty colored product. I'm going to try and show you the difference here once she gets done jarring it up. So my beautiful bride here is jarring up what we call butterscotch syrup because it's box elder. We don't mix the box elder and the maple. It seems to give it a really weird flavor. And typically at the beginning of the season, the box elder has a more butterscotch flavor. Because it gets later in the season, it gets a little bit more of a weirder butterscotch maple kind of consistency flavor. But either way, we found that if you mix maple and box elder tree sap, kind of tastes weird. But if you keep it separate, tapping your box elders is kind of fun, folks. And on our farm, when you've got about 50 of these trees around, they're multi-trunked, kind of angular, go-everywhere kind of trees. You make use of them, and that's what we're doing here. So here she's jarring up. It's about probably 210 to 205 degrees. She doesn't leave much headspace. She puts them into the hot jars, leaves maybe an eighth of an inch headspace, tightens down the canning rings, flips them over for a minute, and then they sterilize the inside of that canning thing, and then she flips it back. And I'm going to step outside just so I can show you this pretty color in the daylight. This jar is full of maple syrup that we make. That's what the maple syrup looks like. It's beautiful, it's dark, it's thick. This is what the box elder looks like, folks. It's pretty, it's beautiful, but it's unique. I hope you give it a try. Tap your box elder maples, don't mix it, and see what you think, folks. Enjoy.